Hey guys, what's up? As requested by a lot of you, I'm gonna be reviewing the video called Vegans versus Meat Eaters by Jubilee.
Why do you think that an animal's life is worth less than any other form of social injustice? There was a time when gay marriage wasn't legal, when black people were slaves, and now there's animals that are kept in factory farms and slaughtered for their flesh.
Her problem is that she's comparing social norms, these man-made concepts, values, which were mostly created by religions, to what we naturally do. We naturally hunt animals, we kill them, we eat their meat raw in nature, we drink their blood. It's not comparable to what you were brainwashed to believe as a child, what is right and wrong, good and bad, and so on. It's never how it used to be in nature. It's just irrelevant because we will always want to kill animals. We will always need to eat them to be healthy.
What's any different about that? Because you can't talk to them in the same language? There's plenty of animals that are smarter than humans. A three-year-old child has the same intelligence as a pig. So.
I want to jump off that real quick just to talk about the enslavement of animals in our society today. And I want to ask you specifically, you said that you feel close to the animals that you murder, slaughter, and rip away from their families. Do you ever feel or have any...
I love how they always use the word murder. You can use it, but by definition in English, it means to kill a human being. It's just a murder by definition. They just make up their own English.
Sympathy for what the animals go through when you kill them, how their family feels. Animals are the same, all animals are the same, and especially animals that you kill to humans in all the ways that really matter. They feel pain, they experience joy, they have families, and you are taking.
Yes, and vegans are right about this. Animals feel exactly the same pain. We can of course only assume that, but we can see because of their screams and the way they look and everything, they don't want pain, obviously, naturally, because nobody does, because pain is a learning mechanism for you to learn what not to do. If you don't learn from pain, then how do you learn? When you get cut, when you step on something, if you get hurt by something, then you run away, you get away from it, you have all of these hormones rush through your body, the fight or flight mode. That's all connected to pain. This is something that the meat eaters of today, the ones who don't understand where their meat comes from, actually need to hear, because vegans are right about it. The problem with the vegans is that they don't understand that that's just how life is, that's nature, because life forms consume other life forms. That's how they stay alive, and the strongest ones survive. They believe that they can live on an earth where there's no more pain, any kind of enslavement, even though obviously when you live in a society then you're as enslaved as no humans before. The way it is now, it's the worst kind of enslavement, but that's a whole different story. My point is simply that they believe that they can create this utopia where there's no more pain whatsoever. But that's impossible because even the cows that you want to protect eat other animals. They are smaller, we call them bugs, but those are still animals. Whenever they eat grass, they eat tons of bugs. And technically, the microbes that they eat are also micro-animals. That's the biological definition of all the bacteria, for example, that we consume. It's just impossible for an animal not to consume other life forms.
Their life away from them when you have other options available and you don't have to make that choice.
And that's another problem with the vegans. They believe that you have other options. We always used to eat the same food up until the last 15 years, mostly. I know that vegans were active before that also, but it was very few, a handful. All of these vegans only appeared after around 2010. And they believe that you can also just eat Beyond Meat, soy, oats, and whatever. What people used to eat when there was famine, people were starving, they didn't want to eat any of that. Now this is their norm. They actually eat it in everyday life, something that humans always try to avoid. What they don't understand is that plants don't have over 15 micronutrients. It is absolutely biologically impossible to survive on a vegan diet. You will degenerate, absolutely deteriorate, and you will become severely sick. That's just how it is. A lot of vegans simply don't want to hear it, and a lot of them really are ignorant because they don't listen to any non-vegans. When it comes to nutrition, they just listen to Dr. Greger and some of the doctors who already passed away very prematurely. They ignore that also.
In the
That's the
same
power
way
of personal
people own
choice.
pets, they bring pets into their own care, into their own hands. They love them, they house them. They guarantee that these pets are given food, given shelter. It is no different when we are raising
This is the Vo, I think that was her name, girl that I reviewed, the raw meat eating girl.
animals for food. And I think if there's middle ground here that we can all agree on, it's that factory farming is unethical. I personally do not support factory farming.
I've had the same questions. I've been exposed to the same things when I was vegan. I was in the vegan community for 6 years. For me, when it was too far is when I lost my period. I can't have children if I don't have a
Very common with vegans.
period. So I became infertile. And do you know what the vegan community told me? That's fine. That's actually a sign of health, and that's totally normal. So I admit that there was a lot of misinformation and
I remember Freely, the banana girl, was always saying how that's a good thing because that means that you have detoxed, no more period required.
brainwashing going on for myself, and I'm speaking for myself. I can respectfully listen and understand.
These people are too respectful, too tame. I would love to be there and just boom, just really just push the knowledge, information, because this kind of talking is just kind of, yeah, and the guys are also just, no man, there needs to be a proper man there who tells them what's up, whatever.
Your point of view, I was there myself, but my brain just opened up and I had to face, is it going to be my health? Or is it going to save the animals no matter what?
At some point, you have to decide, is it worth sacrificing my health for a religious ideology?
I'm fully healthy.
A religious ideology, very well said, yep.
I think if you're an anomaly,
It's funny that the two girls are of Asian descent. I guess that is just a coincidence. Maybe they are more open to eating naturally? Yeah, not really, right? Who knows?
there can be an exception to be made, but I've been vegan for 13 years, vegetarian for 23 years, and I'm extremely healthy. I get blood work done yearly.
I've interviewed over 100 ex-vegans. All of the interviews are on my website if you want to check them out, or on Rumble also. Most of the time it's really just the same kind of issues. A lot of gut pain, infertility, eczema, which comes from the gut also, essentially. Acne, eyesight problems, depression, you name it.
Run a mile in under 7 minutes. I mean, you're an anomaly, and I think that there are other anomalies in existence, but I don't see how that how your one experience, I mean, we don't know what you were eating, how you were treating yourself in your day-to-day life.
I was eating a whole foods, plant-based diet. I was not even eating any processed vegan foods.
I don't think
no
there's
mock
anything wrong with
meats,
processed
just
vegan
whole
foods.
foods.
You need to track your micronutrients, your macronutrients, your vitamins.
So you're saying she didn't do it right?
Yeah, but plants don't have over 15 micronutrients. That's the whole problem. You can stuff yourself full of carbohydrates, sugar. That's no problem on a vegan diet. You can even get fat on a vegan diet. That doesn't mean that you're not nutrient deficient, seeing as you're not getting those micronutrients. That's why you will still end up sick.
I don't know what she did. I can't see her history of what she was eating every day.
I'm sorry you had a bad experience and that you lost your period and that people weren't nice to you about it. But I think, like, I can't stand what's happening to the animals.
Yeah, that's because you grew up in a city or some kind of town, whatever, in civilization, and you never experienced the way nature works. In nature, you see animals getting killed in everyday life. At the very least, you see when your father, with the other men, brings the animals back home, and then you cut them open, and then you all eat the flesh raw, you drink the blood, and so on. It would just be the norm. You would never think twice about it, but because you grew up watching cartoons where they show these fluffy animals I am Mr. Horsey and I love you. Oh, Mr. Horsey loves me. Mommy, please buy me that horsey I saw in the cartoon. And then you get the fluffy animal. I will love you forever. And then, of course, in your mind, this is your friend and we should not hurt them. This is something that happened in the last 100 years, not even really, when Disney came out and everything.
Been to some of the darkest places on earth where these animals are tortured by the hundreds of thousands. And, you're saying that, you try to source local and...
Torture is not allowed, at least real proper torture in any of these farms. It for sure happens, but she talks about it as if it's just a norm. That's just what they do in these factory farms, which I am also against, simply because the meat is unhealthy there. That's it.
And I get that, and I think it's great that you care about animals. I appreciate that a lot. But I think, if you go to a slaughterhouse where all of these animals are killed, ultimately, regardless of where they're raised, there's nothing humane that happens there. Animals enter into a slaughterhouse as live animals.
It's very humane. Humane comes from human. It's what humans do. So everything that humans naturally do is humane by definition. And obviously killing an animal is the most humane thing on earth, because it's literally what we do in everyday life in nature.
For their lives, and they come out chopped up in pieces.
I don't think we should be shamed for choosing to eat meat. So you guys said the word anomaly a lot with my case. If you take 2, 3, 4 hours just immersing yourself in the meat-eating community, you actually will see a lot of vegans who have had to quit that diet because their health also declined. So
yes, a lot of people who eat raw meat now are also ex-vegans, and they quit because of the health.
In my eyes, I don't see this as an anomaly. A lot of people are suffering because they think this vegan diet is the best diet in the world, and you can save the planet.
Yes, and that's the problem. If people would be told that veganism is unhealthy, but they should do it for the animals, then pretty much 99% of people wouldn't do it, except for some that really hate themselves and just don't care about their lives. It's that they believe that they are doing it for the animals, and then of course there's a lot of virtue signaling going on. They believe that they are way better than others. They want others to see them that way. And then they also believe that it's at the very least okay for their health. They're not really going to suffer. If they would be told that it's actually unhealthy, they would be told the truth about the over 50 nutrients missing in plants, then, as I said, most of them would think twice about it, and they would really just never end up doing it.
But it's not.
Well, I think the issue is that the people you're talking about see veganism as a diet, and therefore they may be extremely restrictive with what they're eating. But there is a way to eat plant-based and vegan that is extremely healthy. And I mean, there are a lot of testaments to this.
Yeah, but she has zero energy, seems severely depressed, just no life force. And how can you talk like that? Yeah, veganism can be done really healthily. Just almost dead.
And I also have seen the videos that you're talking about.
Yep.
And
also a lot of makeup on, but you can still see the dark eye circles and the eye bags.
it's usually an insane switch up. It goes from one end to the extreme other end, like raw meat. And I think that there is a lot to be said about consumerism and social media behind a lot of these specific testimonies that you're referencing. And I think that if you were to really do the research, it wouldn't come from people's stories on the internet. It comes from research articles by the National Health Institute and Harvard and other research institutes. And veganism and a plant-based diet has been shown to reduce the overall risk of mortality and a million other heart disease, cardiovascular disease.
It didn't for me. It didn't for me.
Has been shown how? Epidemiology? That proves nothing. But I get it, that's what the vegans cling on to. You do understand that studies are paid for, sponsored. If a company wants to have a result, and they will pay to get the result. And in epidemiology, because it's not scientific, you can get just about any result that you want. If I wanted to somehow make a correlation between using this specific iPhone with a reduction in heart disease, then I could do it. If I would pay them to create an epidemiological study about it, you could draw a correlation somehow. And then in the title of the study, they would say this iPhone reduces your risk of heart disease. This is actually possible. That's how irrelevant epidemiology is.
I will say, I live with a chronic illness and a disability. It's an autoimmune disease, and there are people who do test on animals to try to cure my disease. And I wish
I wonder why she doesn't want to say what kind of disease it is.
that they wouldn't. And I know that it's going to drastically shorten my lifespan, most likely, if I continue to live with this disease. But I still do not think that it is okay for animals to be experimented on in laboratories to cure my disease, because
She does look very sick. She's the sickest one out of everybody here. Very pale, zero energy. Just, again, very little life force. The way she talks also really has trouble even talking. The other one was worse in that sense, but this one just looks worse from the outside. And your skin shows people how healthy you actually are on the inside, so to speak. The way you look like on the outside really just reflects your insides, the health of your organs, your blood, bone marrow, and so on. If somebody looks unhealthy on the outside, then they are unhealthy. It's the best way to judge somebody's health.
I do not believe that my life is worth more than theirs, and I don't think that they should have to suffer for me.
That isn't true for everybody. I mean, I get 13,000 steps a day, and I'm a weightlifter. I'm in the gym for 1 to 2 hours every single day. And
Oh, that's probably why she looks so exhausted. A vegan diet and weightlifting, that's a disaster.
I'm not hungry after I eat. I mean, I eat nutritious protein-packed options like tempeh, seitan, and tofu that leave me feeling
Yeah, it's made from soybeans, for example. The biological value is not high, which they have no clue about, meaning that you can't get a lot of the nutrients, especially the protein, out of it.
full. And there is a poor way to eat a vegan diet that doesn't leave you feeling full. And I believe that might be what you're experiencing if you had that.
I ate a Whole Foods.
I don't know if any vegans will say that they feel satiated. They may say that they feel full because of all the fiber, the bloating and gas, but none of them ever say, oh, I feel so satiated. I actually just ate what I wanted to. This is good. I'm just good for hours now. It's usually the case that after 30 minutes they snack again.
Plant-based diet.
That's not
because-
necessarily healthy, though. I don't think that Whole Foods plant-based is
So you're saying
baseline
eating
great.
seitan and what else? What's the other
Yeah,
process?
do you know what
Tofu
seitan is made out of?
Whole Foods plant-based is not necessarily healthy. Okay, we'll see what she says. That's what the vegans always say.
I do know what it is. It has a
It's
very long
fermented
ingredients
beans.
list. And tofu is healthy for you?
Yeah, it's
Oh, there's
processed
so many
soybeans.
GMOs. It's not good for you.
That's not true. Tofu is a staple in plenty of Asian cultures. It's been around
I'm
for
Asian.
thousands of years.
It's not good for your health.
A staple in Asian cultures, I guess that she means in Japan, most likely. They do use soy sauce. They kind of use it everywhere on earth nowadays because it's spread everywhere. But it's just a sauce. It's not as if that's what the meal is based on. And then the tempeh itself, tofu, there's some meals, yeah, but it's not what they mostly eat. In every Asian country, they eat mostly meat. And in Japan, they eat a lot of raw meat also. Raw fish, chicken, beef, all of it. All kinds of seafood. You can go to any Japanese restaurant. You will always find some kind of raw meat dishes. Just because they eat some kind of soy products here and there doesn't really mean anything, seeing as their meals are not based on it. But when you base your meals on it, then you're not eating like a Japanese girl, for example. That would be the other way around almost.
Organic tofu is
It
good for your
really
health.
ruins your hormones.
That is a myth. The type of estrogen that is in tofu is completely different from human.
Steak and butter girl is right. There's phytoestrogens. These phytoestrogens bind to the cell receptors of real estrogen, meaning that you cannot use real estrogen after a while anymore. This happens to guys and to girls. It's arguably maybe worse for girls. Hard to say, really. Doesn't really matter. Nobody should be consuming it.
Estrogen, and it's ironic for you to say that when you're drinking breast milk from cows.
Okay, firstly, you don't know what I'm eating in my carnivore diet.
Oh my god, she's so upset.
don't drink breast milk from cows. I actually
milk from any
do not
animal.
eat dairy right now because it inflames me. So you actually mentioned healing from autoimmune issues, the carnivore diet and eating only meat.
But what was her point anyway? Breast milk, any animal's milk at least has real estrogen. I'm not saying that it's necessarily good to consume a lot of it, especially for a guy. But what's her point? It's the same estrogen that you have in your own body, in your blood. I don't know what she was trying to say there.
Meats is actually renowned for reversing autoimmune issues. And this whole community stay with this diet.
For example, by the way, women who drink a lot of raw milk, their chest grows quite a lot. A lot of women have reported this. So if you want a bigger chest, I really recommend drinking a lot of raw milk.
Because they're finally, for the first time in their life, getting healthy again.
Although ovaries would be better. I'm not consuming any dairy myself almost ever, except for butter, rarely anything else. I also don't recommend it. I'm just saying you realistically won't have access to raw ovaries, right?
But I also understand your point. Even though I still won't eat meat because I support all of this. I'm just saying that my carnivore diet grocery bills are absolutely cheaper than my vegan diet grocery bills. And I was eating a whole foods plant-based diet. So maybe I am wrong that a whole foods plant-based diet is not healthy or the best way to go about a vegan diet. I did not eat a single processed mock meat junk food that
Tofu,
they label
seitan,
vegan.
and tempeh aren't processed mock
Fine,
meat.
I didn't try those either. But when I ate whole foods plant-based, I felt hungry all the time. So maybe it just didn't work for me.
I just quickly want to jump in that
It's funny that this guy on steroids is promoting veganism. It's always these guys who go to the gym and use roids that try to say that veganism makes you strong and healthy.
my chronic illness is incurable. No dietary change is going
May
to
I know
cure
what
it.
it's called?
It's called type 1 diabetes. And
Okay.
I have never heard of anybody healing their type 1 diabetes on raw meat or whatever. They can manage it a lot better, but it has never went away when they are adults. When you get it as a child, whole different story.
There's a lot of people that have actually managed type 1 diabetes by eating only meat.
I understand that it's you can manage it.
Yes, no, I recognize
but
it's
I just
very-
want to make
yeah.
sure that it's clear it's
Absolutely.
incurable and people shouldn't, go off life.
Not true. From my own experience, I know it. I've done consultations about it. As long as you treat it right away when you get it, she just doesn't understand it. But okay, most people don't.
Saving medication to try to.
But a lot of people have.
I know a lot of people have
Because they
gone
can,
off.
yeah.
Not for my disease.
Understood.
It's impossible. No one with my disease can do that. So I just want to make sure that that's clear so we're not spreading
Yeah, but it's for sure not going to get better because you eat a carbohydrate-based diet, which is the whole problem.
something that's potentially dangerous.
Well, thank you for sharing because I wasn't sure what autoimmune issues
It's okay. Yeah, no, that's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're missing the point. Sometimes we take our personal experiences and apply it to the world. That's not necessarily the case. Just because someone isn't carnivore and they've saved their life doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to do the same for another individual. Same thing when it goes to vegan. Just because this person said vegan and want to change their life and their health is phenomenal, that doesn't mean, hey, Bella, you need to go back to being vegan.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
what-
I agree.
The guy's point at the end was that you can't say that a carnivore diet healed this or that disease and then apply it to other people as if it's going to do the same. But when we talk about raw meat, of course, you can actually apply it to other people because you're eating naturally, which is the only way to really actually heal your body. The same way, if a cow would be only eating grains, the cow would eventually get at least somewhat sick. And of course, you can apply it to every cow. If they would start eating grass, then every one of the cows would become healthy again because they would be eating what they are naturally supposed to eat, seeing as they are not supposed to be eating seeds, maybe some here and there, but for sure not for the most part. It's the same with human beings. That's why you can see a lot of people heal really almost every disease that you can imagine, except for type 1 diabetes if you're an adult already and you get used to taking the insulin, whether it's from a pig, synthetic, whatever the case. It's just because your body is used to it to a point where it's very hard to actually go back. But you can still manage it very well. As she said, steak and butter girl, there's also people who start eating a so-called carnivore diet, a fake carnivore diet with cooked meat, and they could also manage it a lot better. It's still a lot better. Your life becomes easier. That other one with the glasses, she's gonna be in a lot of trouble if she keeps eating a vegan diet. You almost only eat carbohydrates, and you're not getting over 15 micronutrients. So you're generally gonna get sick anyway. But on type 1 diabetes, almost only eating carbohydrates, which is sugar in the body, is an absolute disaster. It can only get worse. She is gonna get insanely sick, and she really believes that it's impossible to get rid of it anyway, which means that even if she gets super sick, she will never connect it to her diet. And even if she does, then she will believe that there's no way out of it anyway. Even if I would quit veganism now, it's never gonna help me. Might as well just continue and absolutely sink to the bottom. Yeah, that was pretty bad. And the other girl also, as I said, has zero energy. The guy was also pretty strange. The only guy who seemed somewhat okay was the guy on roids. Maybe he hasn't been vegan for so long, or maybe the drugs are keeping him pumped up, so to speak. At least it seemed like he has some kind of life force inside of him. I guess that it's really maybe the drugs. But I watched most of the video. Of course, I didn't show most of it. That would be too long of a video. And the guys who were on the meat eater side were also not really men. They didn't talk like men. They didn't really actually talk the way a real meat eater would talk, a raw meat eater, somebody who eats naturally. That's why I said at the beginning, if I would have been there, I would have really pushed it. I would have really made it clear what we are naturally supposed to eat. I would have been very persistent, and they would have understood at the end why veganism is impossible. Nobody there mentioned that plants don't have all of these missing nutrients. When the vegans said, oh, but you can do it, you don't have to kill animals, today we have all of these options, then somebody should have said that. But you have these two guys who, as I said, are not really manly and not informed about veganism or nutrition in general. And then you had the two girls who are more informed, but girls are girls, of course. Girls will always talk the way girls do. It's just naturally the way it is. They won't talk like men, obviously, just purely biochemically. And they cannot really get through to them. But even they didn't mention anything about nutrition. That was the biggest problem here. Whenever you start a debate with a vegan, firstly, make sure that they understand, which 99% of the time they won't, that plants don't have over 15 micronutrients. After that, really any argument becomes irrelevant, because if you say that killing animals is morally wrong, then you can just say, well, plants don't have over 50 micronutrients. What else can I do then? The morals are out of the window, not an argument. If you say that factory farming is bad, you just say, get your meat from other places. Whatever the argument is, it always goes back to the same. Veganism is not sustainable because your health will suffer. That's it. Thanks for watching.